Hi there, I'm Sylvia Plester-Silk, and 10 Minutes to Joy is your weekly invitation to reset, recharge, and rediscover your most joyful self through aha moments and simple energy techniques. Today, we're discussing trust your gut. Hi, I'm your host, Sylvia Plester-Silk, and intuition is my way of life. It's how every single day I tune in and do my very, very best to listen to my intuition. And let me tell you, it has not always been this way. Back in the 1990s, when I sort of realized in a big aha moment that I was intuitive in my very first therapeutic touch class, in May of 1995, I was paired up with someone to do healing, and I knew nothing about this stuff. And I reached out and I held her energy field, and I had shooting pain go up my shoulder, up to my shoulders, and had to yank my hands away. I yelled over at Evelyn McKay, my teacher, and said, Evelyn, what am I doing wrong? And she came over and she said, You are doing nothing wrong. Looked to my partner and said, Would you like to tell her or shall I? And I was sitting there wondering what is going on and kind of concerned. What I learned is my partner had chronic pain in her um, shoulders, and I felt it. In that moment, I could no longer deny that I had intuition. I didn't really understand that intuition came in different forms. I had always had this preconceived notion that if you're intuitive, you hear messages and you can channel and download those messages. So sensing and feeling in my body didn't seem that significant because I did the comparison game, which really holds you back from trusting yourself. And don't we all get caught up in the comparison game from time to time? In any event, as I went on from that, I did take some intuition for professional courses. I did some how to channel courses, regression courses, as I wanted to figure out this intuition thing. So let me distill it down to some real basics for you and hopefully encourage you to have some more intuitive moments in your life, which to me feel very joyful. I mean, the example I shared wasn't particularly joyful, except afterwards when I went, wow, that's pretty incredible that I'm sensing and feeling that I have this capability. So, what are some forms of intuition? One is you can feel things in your physical body, like I did. You can see things, so visions. Some people will say, I get a sense, or I can see you're dressed in such and such an outfit, or I see myself doing such and such, or I don't see myself doing such and such. I had a girlfriend who could look, you could give her a date on a calendar and she'd tell you at that location whether it was going to rain or what exactly the weather was that day because she would see it. We can hear messages. Those are often quiet, at least initially, little whispers that we'll hear from what I believe are our guides, sometimes our angels. And they are to help us understand or make choices or give us a new awareness. We can sense things similar to what I have, except different. When I'm talking about sensing, it's just when people say, I have a gut feeling, or I feel such and such is going to happen. We can just know. And these people freak me out. So you'll be talking to them about something and they just know information and they have no context to know that information. And it's a bit, and can be a bit scary and intimidating for other people because they feel really seen, sometimes in ways they don't want to be seen because it feels very private. And you can feel it. So I think I talked a little bit about that's more my sense. I can feel the emotion that another person is feeling. And sometimes they're not aware of it, and I can hold space to help them find that emotion and the name for it. So, how do you let's talk about some blocks. What can get in the way of the intuition? One is certainly getting into the comparison game of, oh, I'm not that intuitive. XYZ is more intuitive. Two, oftentimes we believe that we're not intuitive at all. And trust me, you are. My husband claims this, I'm not intuitive. And then he will come out with something and I'll be like, oh, I don't think so. And months later, it's like, oh, he was so right. Don't tell him I said so, though, eh? Um, and another one is our mind. Oh, that makes no sense. And we dismiss it. And in my book, I share a story about when I did that around an office space and had some pretty unpleasant consequences of not listening and trusting my gut. So to me, this is very near and dear. Now, so those are some of the blockages. How do we open up and feel more intuitive? Well, we give space to it. What I mean by that is taking quiet moments in the morning before you head off to bed at night. You can, maybe you're struggling with an issue or trying to come up with a solution for something. And just before you lay your head down to go to sleep, you can just simply ask, please show me the way to go with this, or show me the solution to this scenario. Fall asleep and you may come up with an insight overnight that you would never have come up with. S- Uh, creating quiet times. A lot of people, and I think this is very true for me as well, getting out in nature or being around water. So not getting too personal here, but I get a lot of messages when I'm in the bathtub. It's the element of water and being in water, which is a bit of a magnifier and amplifier of energy. So that's one way. Another way is start to take notice when you get these little niggles and hints and sensings or feelings or words or visions or such and such, and really start to pay attention. So on whatever date, I got this sensation, thought, I heard this, I saw this, whatever, and then take note of what happened. Even if it was months later, come back to that journal and actually make notations of it. That helps trust yourself. Another way is when you get a little urge and suddenly you think of somebody that you haven't thought of in years or haven't talked to in a number of months, reach out to them, because you'll often find that they're going through something and need support, or they were thinking about you and it's like they called your intuitive number instead of your phone number. I think it's about really giving ourselves permission to be intuitive folks. When we get into trying too hard and our mind constricts, it becomes very difficult for us to hear the intuitive messages that are coming through. When we're tense, the same thing. So again, feel those feels, work through those pieces so that you can be more open to receiving these messages that are naturally coming into you. And trust me, they are naturally coming into you. When you get a gut feeling in whatever way that comes to you, listen. Even if all you do is you take a moment in that time to just pause, practice the pause. So rather than dismissing it immediately, oh, isn't that interesting? And adopt a curious mind, like a child out playing who suddenly is no longer playing the baseball game in the baseball league, but are picking dandelions out in the field and having a great time. So allowing that spontaneity and play in your life so that it's easier for the energy to shift and move around you. Another great way to get in touch with your intuition is to hang out with other folks that talk intuition. Uh, if you're with people who are dismissive of intuition or kind of like, oh, come on, how could you know that, and joke about it, it's less likely you're going to trust your intuition unless you're really stubborn, like I can be, and it'd be like, well, I'll just show you. And so then just allow yourself to be more in touch with yourself. Another is the practice of gratitude. Spending just a few moments as you awake in the morning, or again just before you go to bed at night, to just sense and feel and mention either to yourself, maybe in a journal, what you're grateful for that's happened in the day. I have found in my life that that opens me up to just a little bit more flow and ebb for my intuition and hearing those messages. And it's not toxic positivity. It's just really going in and sensing and feeling those little things in our lives, whether it was like, wow, this coffee this morning is like the best coffee. The flavor is so good. Or savoring a moment in in your bathtub or your shower in the morning, and just being grateful in that moment for that sensation, enjoying moments of just being present in the current time versus thinking about and rushing forward like we often do, being distracted. Pull yourself back into yourself, get grounded, and allow these messages to start to flow into your life and support your life more fully. Again, I want to remind you, it is really important that you give value to whatever sense your intuition comes to you through. As you give more value and you practice listening to it, in my personal experience, I end up noticing how other pieces of my intuition come in that I in different ways. So back in 95, I could feel things in my body. From time to time, I will have vision now. I will have words that come to me. I haven't got that internal knowing, except I guess I did one time last year around some business stuff. My body shut down to say, no, this is not the right coach for you to work with. And once I went, well, what are my other options? The sensation left, and I knew it was an intuitive scream, I think. My body was actually yelling at me that this could not work working with this particular coach. So, again, it is an incredible life skill. It is well worth developing, and I wish you more intuitive moments in your life. Intuition is communicating within your deepest self, tuning into sensations, feelings, and subtle knowing. You can learn to heal your soul's most profound guidance, one moment at a time. Please subscribe at 10minutestojoy.com so that you don't miss an instant. Thanks for listening and have a wonderful week.